I'm Eleanor Holt, a pretty neatly dressed, 67-year-old widow who gave it everything she had to ensure my daughter. Rachel never had the struggles I faced as a child. Everett and I got along just fine when he married Rachel, until he started hanging around with her. At that point, I could have stopped him, but I didn't. Instead, I chose to step in and help them with everything, even if it meant eating crappy meals and doing whatever seemed necessary to keep them going. And they felt sorry for me, but there was some growing up they never saw coming. Now that they have both moved back in, there's a fun, laughter-filled dynamic between them. I don't know what got into them, but that didn't sound right to me. One evening, as I put together a pretty meal, the laughter turned into awkward chatter. I turned around to find them at it too, not acting like they had any clue what was going on. Everett was the first to break the silence. You can't live on her pension for the rest of your life, can you? Like we're some kind of utility rat. You're stuck paying for the rest of her life. Rachel snorted, clearly not having any of it. And before I knew it, she was laughing too. I could see my own tears stinging at my eyes. It still pained me to see them using me like that, but they didn't give me a lot of choice. I looked at them with a mix of sadness and defiance. I am not some cheap, disposable mother for them, I whispered before I could feel my voice change. I am more than that. I am their mother. I am their rock. And that's when the truth dawned on them. I am the one they always thought was weak, the one who'd fall apart without me. And tomorrow, they will see. I am more than a burden. I am the inspiration they never expected. The morning sunlight crept into my room far too gently for the chaos I was about to create. I had slept surprisingly well, maybe because, for the first time in years, I felt in control again. Downstairs, I brewed my tea and waited. At exactly 8:05 a.m., I heard panicked footsteps. "Mom!" "Did you change the Wi-Fi password again?" Rachel shouted, frustration already bubbling in her voice. Eric stormed in next, waving his phone. "Our banking app isn't working. It says we're locked out. What's going on?" I took a slow sip, savoring the calm before their storm. "Oh, that," I said, tapping the phone on the table. "I moved everything out of the joint account last night." Rachel blinked rapidly. "Joint account? That was for all of us." "No," I corrected. "It was my account. I only added you both temporarily when you said you were building a future. But when you told me my pension shouldn't be mine, you showed your real intentions." Eric scoffed. "You can't just, we were planning for the family? Really?" I raised a brow. Family planning doesn't involve laughing about when the mother will die. Silence. A silence sharp enough to cut. Then Rachel exploded. "So what now? You cut us off? Where do you expect us to go?" I leaned back in my chair. "You two are adults, not helpless children." She stared at me, a mix of disbelief and anger swirling in her eyes. Eric stepped closer, voice dripping with manipulation. "You're making a mistake. We took care of you." I laughed, a bitter, tired laugh. "You lived in my house, ate my food, and used my money. That's not care, that's dependence." I handed Eric a neatly folded paper. "What's this?" He muttered. "An eviction notice," I replied. "Legally signed. You both have 36 hours to pack and leave." Rachel's face drained of color. You're kicking your own daughter out? How heartless can you be?" "Heartless?" I whispered. "No, this is the first time I'm showing heart to myself." She slammed her fist onto the table. "You'll regret this. When you're old and lonely, begging for help, I'd rather be alone." I cut her off, then surrounded by people waiting for me to die. Rachel's eyes filled with furious tears as she stormed away. Eric followed after kicking a chair, leaving it toppled on the floor. I exhaled slowly. This house had never been quieter, but for the first time in so long, I liked the quiet. Little did I know they weren't leaving without a fight, because somewhere upstairs, Rachel was already planning revenge. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought that after the eviction notice, Rachel and Eric would pack, grumble, and eventually leave, like any entitled adults forced to grow up. But I was wrong. The next evening, I heard whispers outside the kitchen door. I paused, listening. Rachel's voice was sharp, trembling with rage. She thinks she can just erase us. We'll make sure she begs us to stay. Eric's tone dripped with spite. Without us, she can't keep up with bills. The house is too big. She panicked eventually. We'll take what's rightfully ours. My pulse steadied, fear replaced by resolve. Not long after, I went to collect laundry from their room only to find my jewelry box emptied. Bracelets gifted by my late husband, gone. My gold wedding ring, missing. A safe that had been untouched for years, pried open. So this is what they had resorted to. Petty theft from their own mother. I stepped into the hallway just as they came out of their room, trying to act casual. But Rachel's purse clinked too loudly with its stolen burden. Going somewhere? I asked calmly. Rachel smiled innocently. Just stepping out for some air. Drop the act, I replied. Give me my belongings. She froze, guilt flickering, then transforming into pure arrogance. You owe us, she spat. We sacrificed our lives to take care of you. Sacrifice? I shook my head slowly. The only thing you sacrificed was your humanity. Eric took a threatening step forward. You don't scare us. I held up my phone. You should be scared. Cameras were installed long before you moved back in. Every theft, every insult, recorded. Eric stiffened. Rachel's face paled. And one more thing, I added, opening the app. I filed a police report this morning. Officers will be here soon. You wouldn't, Rachel whispered, disbelief twisting her features. You already decided what kind of mother I am, I responded quietly. I'm simply honoring your version of me. Rachel's breath turned shakier. So you're choosing jewelry over your own daughter? No, I said, my voice steady as stone. I'm choosing my dignity. She stepped close enough that I could see the hurt behind her anger, but she wasn't sorry. She was furious she got caught. You'll pay for this, she hissed. You're old and alone. We are your only family. I leaned in. A family that wishes me dead isn't family? She opened her mouth, but the sound of police sirens cut through the moment like a blade. Her glare promised war, and I knew tonight was only the beginning. The officers arrived within minutes, lights flashing against the walls like lightning without thunder. Rachel and Eric stood stiffly, trying to appear innocent, but guilt clung to them like smoke. Ma'am, we received your report, one officer said. Do you wish to press charges? Rachel spun toward me, eyes wide with disbelief. You're really doing this? You want the world to see you as a cruel, heartless mother? I spoke slowly, every word chosen like a carefully placed brick. No. I want the world to see who you've become. Eric muttered something under his breath, but the officers stepped in before he could escalate. They asked the couple to hand over anything that wasn't theirs. One by one, my stolen items were placed on the table. The ring, the necklaces, the money they assumed I'd never notice gone. Seeing those treasures, pieces of my life. My late husband's memory, tossed like cheap souvenirs. That hurt more than their laughter ever did. The first officer returned the items to me. We can take them into custody if you'd like, ma'am. I hesitated. Rachel noticed. She lunged at that moment of hesitation like a wolf. See? You can't do this. You still need us. You'll regret ruining your own family. Her words didn't feel like a plea. They felt like a threat. No, I whispered. I won't press charges. The officers nodded, relieved to avoid escalation. But as they turned to leave, Rachel smiled, a dark, triumphant smile. "I knew you wouldn't dare," she taunted. "I'm not done," I replied quietly. "You still have to leave by tomorrow morning." The triumph vanished. Bitterness surged. Eric stepped forward, his voice low and venomous. "If we go, we're not going alone. We'll make sure your life here becomes hell." Rachel crossed her arms, smirking as if they had already won. "That's right, Earthen. You're too old to live alone. You'll either let us stay, or the world will find out how unstable you are." I stared at them, the daughter I once sang lullabies to, now blackmailing me. The man I once called son, now plotting to terrorize me. "You have one night left," I repeated firmly. "Use it to pack, not plan." They exchanged a look, a silent, dangerous agreement. Rachel leaned close, whispering in my ear, "Remember, life can change in a single night." She walked upstairs while Eric lingered only long enough to deliver a final, chilling stare. I locked the door behind the officers, but the house didn't feel secure anymore. My hands trembled as I checked every window, every lock, again and again, because somewhere above me footsteps paced the hallway, slow, deliberate. They weren't packing, they were preparing, and for the first time in my own home, I wasn't safe. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the house, every whisper of wind felt like a warning. I stayed in the living room, the lamp on, my phone clutched tightly in my hand. At 2:13 a.m., I heard their door open upstairs. Soft footsteps, descending slowly. I stood up, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. "Don't take another step." Rachel froze halfway down the staircase. Eric loomed behind her, his fists clenched. "We're not leaving," Rachel said coldly. "You will sign over your pension and half the house. Then we'll stay. Peacefully." I shook my head. "You truly believe everything I own belongs to you," Eric sneered. "You wouldn't survive without us. You think neighbors will help you? Friends? You have no one but us." "That used to be enough for me," I said. "But now, I have myself." As I spoke, headlights flashed through the windows, bright, sharp beams cutting through the dark hallway. Rachel's confidence wavered. "Who's that?" I allowed myself the smallest smile. "Someone who actually cares about me." The door opened, and my brother, their uncle, retired detective, stepped inside. Behind him, 2 officers followed. Rachel's face dropped, all her earlier arrogance dissolving into shock. My brother nodded at me, then turned to them. "I've reviewed the footage. The threats, the theft, the blackmail. This ends tonight." Eric tried to bolt, but the officers were faster. Rachel screamed, rage and disbelief colliding in her voice as they were handcuffed. "You're choosing strangers over your own daughter," she cried. I stepped closer, tears burning my eyes but not falling. "No, I am choosing the daughter I raised, not the stranger you became." For the first time, Rachel looked afraid. Not of the law, but of losing everything she thought she controlled. "Mom!" she whispered, voice cracking. "We're family, and family protects each other," I replied softly. "Not destroy each other." She opened her mouth again, but the officers guided them outside. The night swallowed their screams as they were taken away. Silence returned, but a different silence than before. A peaceful one. My brother placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You're stronger than you think, Elle." I finally allowed myself to cry, not because I lost them, but because I finally found myself. I looked around my home, once a prison of unspoken fear, now a sanctuary built on newfound courage. I wasn't weak. I wasn't alone. I wasn't done living. I closed the door, locked it, and whispered to the quiet. A mother's love has limits, and mine just found its end.